She is shot in the bedroom.
He had committed suicide.
Knees break as she falls to the
The guy that
floor.
kills his own mother, kills his own wife and his 3 kids is still...
10 slugs using both guns.
It's an affluent neighborhood, home to executives and professionals.
$200,000.
$200,000 is a lot of money in 1970. This is not the kind of place where murders happen.
Westfield, New Jersey. A quiet town where nothing unusual ever seemed to happen. Where neighbors waved politely, where doors were left unlocked, and where one man quietly decided his family would die. Not in anger, not in panic, but in cold, deliberate silence. This is the story of how a man erased his entire life and lived freely for 18 years before forensic science finally caught up to him. It's Forensic Shadows.
A horrific monster. That's who John List was. Self-centered, devious, cunning, and the acts that he committed were morally reprehensible.
He was a deeply religious man, introverted, soft-spoken, a gentleman. The kind of person you would not mind having as a next-door neighbor. And the whole family was like that.
November 9th, 1971, began like any other Tuesday. Inside the List family mansion, morning routines unfolded with familiar precision. Breakfast, school preparations, work schedules. John List, age 46, watched it all carefully, methodically, because he already knew something no one else did. By the end of the day, they would all be dead.
A portrait emerges of a family that has remained aloof from neighbors during the 5 years they have lived in the big white house with green shutters.
Beneath the seemingly pleasant exterior lurked an individual completely unable to express his feelings.
This was a man who was deeply repressed, a guy who had always kept his emotions to himself.
To outsiders, John List appeared ordinary. He was an accountant, a church-going Lutheran, reserved, quiet, disciplined. He believed in order, structure, control. But beneath that exterior, his life was collapsing.
His problem was that he was overburdened. He had been a failure in every way.
He decided he wanted to do this, and this was the only way out. This was the way for him to start with a clean slate, and that's why he did it.
He had lost his job months earlier. He told no one, not his wife, not his children, not his friends. Every morning, he pretended to leave for work. He would drive away from the house and spend the day hiding, ashamed, watching his identity dissolve.
But he's been staying at the train station during the day, reading the papers, napping, letting his family think he's at work.
Financial pressure mounted quickly. Bills piled up. Savings disappeared. Utilities were on the verge of being shut off. The mansion itself was far beyond what he could afford.
His mother, Alma, has $200,000 in savings. He begins skimming money from her bank account to cover his 3 mortgages.
$200,000 is a lot of money in 1971. Close to $1.5 million today. Despite all that money, she may not have even known about the situation.
But to John List, the financial collapse wasn't just inconvenience. It was humiliation, failure. He believed his worth existed only in his ability to provide. Without that, he believed he was nothing.
The principles of self-reliance and the Protestant work ethic he learned growing up in a strict religious home forbid him from showing any signs of weakness or failure.
You could argue his psychology was reflective of the time. Rigid gender roles in post-war America called for the man to be the protector and provider for the family.
Psychologists later described this as identity collapse, when a person's entire sense of self is tied to a single role and that role disappears. The psychological damage can be catastrophic. But John List didn't lash out emotionally. He didn't seek help. He formulated a plan. Investigators would later reconstruct the timeline. At approximately 9 a.m., John List retrieved a handgun. He approached his wife, Helen. She never saw it coming. He fired once. She collapsed instantly. He then turned to his mother, Alma List, who was 84 years old. He shot her in her apartment on the upper floor. She died alone. Hours later, his children began returning home from school, one by one, each entering the house believing they were safe, each trusting their father completely, each shot without warning. 5 murders spread across a single day, executed with calm precision.
Helen, Patricia, and Frederick were each shot once in the head. John, the eldest son, suffers 10 gunshot wounds to the head and chest, either as a result of struggling or trying to escape.
Each of them is shot in the head, either with the 9mm pistol he had bought as a souvenir of World War II or the .22 caliber target pistol. Whether John Jr. struggles with his father or makes an attempt to escape, List ends up firing 10 slugs into the boy's head and chest using both guns.
What he did next may be even more disturbing than the murders themselves. He didn't run. He didn't panic. He cleaned. He moved the bodies carefully, placed them gently on sleeping bags, and aligned them side by side, almost like they were resting. He then cleaned the crime scene, removed obvious evidence, and began preparing his disappearance. He turned off the lights, closed the blinds, stopped mail delivery, contacted the children's schools, told them the family would be away for several weeks. He was creating time for distance, time for himself to vanish.
There had been 2 schools of thought. One was that he had committed suicide after committing the homicides, and the other was that he was living somewhere out and around the Midwest.
Once in a while, you'd get a sighting, a List sighting. You'd get a report that they saw a guy in, Alabama who looked like John List, because the FBI kept, information.
Before leaving, John List sat down and wrote a letter, 5 pages long, addressed to his pastor. It was not emotional. It was not chaotic. It was calm, rational, structured. He explained that he believed he had saved his family, saved them from financial ruin, saved them from spiritual corruption, saved their souls. He believed murder was mercy.
Dear Pastor Raywinkle, I am sorry to add this additional burden to your work. I know that what has been done is wrong from all that I have been taught, and that any reasons that I might give will not make it right. But you are the one person that I know that, while not condoning this, will at least possibly understand why I felt that I had to do this. 1. I wasn't earning anywhere near enough to support us. Everything I tried seemed to fall to pieces. True, we could have gone bankrupt and maybe gone on welfare. 2. But that brings me to my next point. Knowing the type of location that one would have to live in, plus the environment for the children, plus the effect on them knowing that they were on welfare, cut back, but this involved a lot more than that. 3. With Pat being so determined to get into acting, I was also fearful as to what that might do to her. At least I'm certain that all have gone to heaven now. If things had gone on, who knows if this would be the case? Mrs. Lydia Meyer, of course, sister. Mrs. Eva Meyer, Helen's mother. Jean Seifert. Originally, I had planned this for November 1st, All Saints' Day, but travel arrangements were delayed. I thought it would be an appropriate day for them to get to heaven. As for me, please let me be dropped from the congregation rolls. I leave myself in the hand of God's justice and mercy. I don't doubt that he is able to help us, but apparently he saw fit not to answer my prayers the way that I hoped they would be answered. This made me think that perhaps it was for the best as far as the children's souls are concerned. I know that many will only look at the additional years they could have lived, but if finally they were no longer Christians, what would be gained? Please remember me in your prayers. I will need them whether or not the government does its duty as it sees it. I'm only concerned with making my peace with God, and of this I am assured because of Christ dying even for me. P.S. Mother is in the hallway in the attic, 3rd floor. She was too heavy to move. John.
This letter would become one of the most chilling forensic psychological documents ever examined because it revealed something terrifying. He didn't see himself as a monster. He saw himself as righteous. Before leaving, he performed one final act. He cut his face out of every family photograph in the house. Every image, every memory, he removed himself, symbolically erasing his identity. Then, he walked out the front door, locked it behind him, and disappeared. For weeks, no one noticed. The house remained still, quiet. Neighbors assumed the family was traveling, but eventually, silence became suspicion. Mail piled up. Lights remained frozen in place. No movement, no life. On December 7th, 1971, police entered the home. The smell hit them first. Then the bodies, 5 victims, motionless, preserved by cold indoor temperatures.
Helen is wearing a dressing gown. All 3 kids are wearing coats. They've all been shot dead.
Oddly, religious music is playing over the house intercom system.
A 5th body is found in the hallway of the 3rd floor. Alma List, John's 85-year-old mother, resides in living quarters on the top floor of the house.
She is shot in the bedroom. Her knees break as she falls to the floor before she's dragged to the hallway on a carpet runner.
My partner and I parked out on the street, walked up, went around, checked the house. Everything appeared to be in order.
We started looking around the house, and there was a light coming from the 2nd floor, which sort of lit very eerily the 1st floor. Just enough light that you could get around, but not with very good vision. There were great big drapes over this archway. And of course, when we opened the drapes and put our flashlights in the room where there was no light, we discovered a rather grisly sight.
We could see there were several bodies in sleeping bags with their faces covered. I called out several times that this was the Westfield police. Would you mind getting up in that? Nobody responded. Big house, 3 floors. Every time I went into a different room, especially when I went in the cellar, I didn't know what I was going to find.
I did have definitely a sense of that the perpetrator of this crime might still be in the house. Of course, this was not too long after the movie Psycho was around, and it was still vivid in my mind. And as I opened each closed door, I had this sense that somebody was going to jump out at me.
Police launched an immediate manhunt, but this was 1971. No internet, no digital records, no surveillance cameras, no centralized databases. A person could disappear and stay gone. Fingerprints revealed nothing new. Financial accounts showed minimal activity. He had planned everything. Investigators were chasing a ghost. Somewhere else, John List became someone else. He adopted a new name, Robert Clark. He relocated, found work as an accountant again, remarried, attended church, spoke politely to neighbors. He blended in perfectly. For 18 years, he lived free.
What was he doing when they caught him? He was a CPA. He was still a volunteer in the Lutheran Church. A guy that kills his own mother, kills his own wife and his 3 kids, is still volunteering in the Lutheran Church.
But forensic science was evolving. In 1989, investigators partnered with forensic artists. They created an age-progressed bust, predicting exactly how John List would look after 18 years. Wrinkles, hair loss, facial sagging.
One night watching TV, we watched America's Most Wanted, and I thought this might be a very interesting case for him to take on.
If we were successful in getting the List case aired, someone out there would recognize him.
The bust aired on national television. Millions watched. Most saw nothing. But one woman recognized her neighbor, Robert Clark.
Tonight on America's Most Wanted.
Now tonight's first case, the oldest we've ever pursued on America's Most Wanted.
By the time they got to the sculpture, I was convinced it was him.
To look at it, we said, oh my God, that's Bob. Bob Clark.
Bob is John List. We've got to call.
On June 1st, 1989, agents approached him calmly. They asked his name. He answered, Robert Clark. They asked another question, are you John List? He paused, then calmly replied, yes. No resistance, no denial, just acceptance. After 18 years, it was over.
2 agents went to where he was working, and they brought him back to headquarters where they fingerprinted him. And they compared his fingerprints to that of John List, and it came back as a match. No questions asked. It was John List.
Psychologists later studied him extensively. They found no insanity, no psychosis. He understood reality. He understood consequences. He simply believed his actions were justified. That belief is what makes this case so disturbing. No chaos, not madness, but logic. Cold, structured logic. He was convicted on 5 counts of murder, sentenced to life in prison. He would never walk free again.
I remain truly sorry for the tragedy that happened in 1971. I feel that due to my mental state at the time, I was unaccountable for what happened.
I don't accept his explanation that he was on some kind of autopilot. I believe he always had a choice and was mentally capable of executing that choice.
He riddles them with bullets. Do you need any more to demonstrate beyond a reasonable doubt that this defendant acted intentionally?
I've sat in so many courtrooms. I never heard a courtroom break out in applause. That old deserved everything he got. He should have gotten the death penalty. They should have fried him.
In 2008, he died behind bars, age 82. His secret life ended where it began, in silence.
It's a terrible thing what John List did, but can we be forgiven for even those sins? I hope so. And John List can go to heaven, and well, I hope he does.
Oh, he's not going to heaven. I know for sure that this man is not going to heaven. He's going straight to hell, right where his ass belongs.
I think I will go to heaven. I don't know what the situation will be in heaven, whether they will remember what I did to them. Certainly, if we're all in heaven, I'm sure we would forgive each other for whatever harm we had done to each other here.
John List believed he had escaped. He believed time protected him. But forensic science doesn't forget. It waits patiently, because every crime leaves a trace, and eventually, the truth finds its way back. This is Forensic Shadows.